everyone. My name is Tanya Edwards. I'm the sales manager at LASOF School of Fashion, Johannesburg campus, and welcome to our virtual career tour week. And we are actually taking you on a tour right now, so come along with me. Whew. Now, I'd like to actually show you our front window. This is actually all our visual merchandising students and designers. So the visual merchandising students did the display, and the designers actually collaborated with Nando's last year, the second year students, and basically artists actually put together different designs, fabric designs, and then the LASOF students were actually given the fabrics and they had to come up with all these gorgeous designs. So I mean, look how unique this is. And I mean, look at obviously the visual merchandising students had to accessorize, add the jewelry, add the shoes, add the gloves, and basically that's what you're looking at. But the one thing I actually wanted to mention was that I was actually a diploma student actually back 26 years ago at LASOF, which was at the Boston City campus in Orange Grove, just in the basement. And look at what we have here 26 years later. Unbelievable. So come along, let's go inside. Now obviously you have to keep in mind we've got the COVID-19 restrictions, so let's start off by sanitizing. I'm going to take my mask off so the sound is better. Hi Joanne, hi Lebo. How's it guys? This is the friendly reception desk. Okay, so let's take you through. This is the reception where it's usually a very busy place. Obviously because of COVID-19 there's a lot less students around, but usually it's bustling with people. But come with me, let's go into the library. Hi Yvonne. Hi Evan. Are you the library queen? Yes, okay, so in the library, Yvonne takes control of everything, yeah? Students, the nice thing is they've got free Wi-Fi. They're able to sit here every day. It's open early in the mornings and closes quite late at night. They can sit and do all their research. Nice thing is there's a few extra Mac computers where they can sit and work on. There's unbelievable books, international books for students to work on, Vogue magazines, everything you need is in the library. These are the theory classrooms. There's 4 of them. So these are where the students will do subjects like history of fashion, fashion theory. They'll do business studies, marketing and branding. Let's go inside and have a look. Okay, so normally this particular class would take about 60 students, and they'd actually be mixed from the 3 different electives. We obviously, because of COVID-19, we only allowed a third of students actually in the class. You can see the amazing decorations that the students actually did for designing Daba display. So this is actually a shop that we have on campus that's usually open every single day in the mornings. It's the Fashion District Wholesalers, where anything you run out of, if you need fabrics, if you need cotton or needles, or maybe you need a file and stationery. Every year students actually get their kits from the Fashion District Wholesalers. Okay, come, let's go up to the media floor. Okay, I'm going to take you to the makeup classroom. Okay, so basically the makeup classroom usually fit about 20 students in here normally. This is also where there's a lot of creativity happening in this classroom. Usually makeup is a first and second year subject. You focus on everything to do with face shapes, to eyebrows, to contouring, you do high fashion, editorial makeup. You even do the history of makeup, which is very, very interesting because you can always draw inspiration from there. And the exciting thing is when we have our end of year fashion show, the makeup students are always the students that are used to obviously create all these unbelievable looks, to obviously work with the designers' looks on the show. And it's always, every year is unbelievable to see. Okay, let's go move along. Let's go to the photography lab. You can actually see through the windows here, you can actually see the canteen, which is usually always buzzing with students, where today there's just a few. Okay. Let's go to photography. Okay, this is one of the design classrooms. You can have a look on the right. There's a few different mood boards that some of the first year designers put together. This is actually one of our other technical studios. You can actually have a look on the left here. We actually have now introduced the plus size models. So students actually learn to make patterns for the bigger lady, the bigger figure, which is a huge percentage of our population. Yeah, look over here. There's one of the patterns. You can see it's a dress. You can have a look at this. Is a sleeve that's been cut open. It's probably going to be gathered over here. It actually says it, which is quite interesting. And you can see we've got all our industrial presses over there, if you want to come through and have a good look. And these industrial presses are what finish your garment. If you do not have a good iron, your garment will never look like a designer made it. We've got different industrial machines over here for buttonhole. We've got for cover seams, for stretch fabrics. And these industrial machines are used for any fabric. It really makes your life easier and you can really sew very fast. Oh, I think we can take this mask off now. We're 1.5 meters from each other. More comfortable. Louise, how's it? How are you? Are you well?
Yes, I'm well.
Good, nice to see you. Eh? It's been
Good
a long
to be
time.
here after such a long while.
Yeah, absolutely, the whole COVID-19. So Louise McWade is actually the academic manager for Honours. So maybe Louise, maybe start off by just telling us like a little bit about yourself and your career.
Well, my career started at Laushof. I came as a mature student. My children went to university and I joined them at Laushof.
Amazing.
And started with a diploma, then went into honours, and then I did a master's, and then my master's was accredited for a PhD, so I'm currently doing a PhD.
Unbelievable. Wow, that's amazing. And you actually, so you basically studied a diploma in RPL into honours, actually.
Yes.
Because of your being mature and all your experience that you had, which is amazing. Wow, okay. What are the requirements, Louise, for honours?
For an honours, we require the student to have a degree in a common field with a pass mark of 65%.
So do you look at basically all the subjects and then basically you take an average of 65%?
Yes.
Okay, just to understand it better. Okay, which is great. And then, if anything, what type of qualities do you think a student has to have to actually handle, studying honours?
Okay, the honours degree essentially it prepares you for life, for work, for a master's degree. So for honours, you begin to learn how to do the research. That is what an honours is about. It's about learning how to do research. Lots of reading. So you would have to be a person that really loves to read, loves to learn, very curious about the world, interested in different cultures, interested in the cultures in South Africa, because with in this degree, it teaches you to think critically and to think deeply. So with honours, the question is then, what is the problem and how do I solve it? So basically, in all the subjects that they do, that the students do in honours, those subjects all support that kind of thinking. And then you go out into the world and you basically don't arrive and say, well, here I am, what should I do? It's here I am, I know how to solve the problem.
Yes, okay. And let's maybe talk about a few of the subjects that they do. So they do 5 subjects in honours. So they do business studies, they do fashion cultural studies, they do design thinking, problem solving, they do research dissertation and
research
methodology. Okay. So maybe tell us a little bit about each subject and what do they cover?
Well, they reach 1 semester subject. So the learning subjects are they start at the beginning of the year, at the end of January, for a 6-month period. The learning subjects that you've mentioned basically have the same underlying function, and that is to encourage that critical thinking. So in various different ways of business thinking or in cultural studies, where we look at society, what are our issues around society, our cultural issues, and we do that through a series of academic papers that have been written by South African academics. Business gives you a bit of a background as to business theories and ideas about business. It's not an MBA, so the business is basically foundational. Quite a lot of it is also taught in undergrad at LAMSOF, but we have many students that come that haven't done a business degree or subject in their courses.
And with regards to the dissertation, so when they start, is it towards sort of the end of the 6 months when they start focusing on research for their dissertation?
Well, while they're doing research methodology, which is in the first semester, they start to think about what they're interested in, what the questions are, which direction they'd like to go. Ideally, we'd like to place them in a situation where they would continue with that direction. And then during the dissertation, they would have a supervisor that would work with them one-on-one, and in their placement they would find, they would develop their question, their problem to solve, basically.
And I mean, maybe just give us a few examples of 1 or 2 of possible topics of dissertation. I mean, I know students can really focus on consumerism, or maybe specifically in a buying position, and maybe looking at sustainable fashion.
Well, there's just a huge variety of options, and some of the students prefer to go into a sort of business direction, and some of the students prefer to do an analysis on a social, cultural issue.
Yes. Okay. And I mean, maybe do you want to mention a few? So basically, in the last sort of 3 to 5 months, the students then get placed in the industry with big brands. Maybe do you want to mention a few companies that they are placed with?
Well, over the years, Laos has developed relationships with quite a lot of the big retailers. So we have the TFG group, Sissy Boy.
There was Polo,
yeah.
True Words. Yeah, and I mean obviously they can,
and then some of the designers, the local designers that are just designers in their own right. Some of our students will be placed there specifically in a design capacity.
So I think it really depends on where they want, what sort of direction, what path. If it's technical design or, like you say, business or buying. So it can be quite a variety. Okay. So I think that if anything, we've pretty much covered everything with regards to honours. And thanks Louise. Thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Okay, so now we've arrived at the gallery retail classroom. Let's go see who's in there. I think we have voices. Oh, look who's there. There's Stefan and Stephen. Hello, guys.
Hi there. Hi guys, I'm so glad that you could join us today. I think I will take the liberty, since we are in a safe space, to first remove our masks. My name is Stephen Kuhn, and I'm currently in the sales department at the Johannesburg Campus. I'm very fortunate today to have with me Stefan Dallapria, who is the academic manager for the BCom degree. Stefan, thanks so much for having your time. I really appreciate that. Allow me to kick off by saying, you know, when we think of design, it's very much perceived as this world of beautiful girls, you know, eccentric designs on the catwalk, fame and glory. But you know, often the road that's less traveled is the one of economics, business. What is the business of fashion? And I'm so glad that we can talk about that today. Because one of the questions that I want to pose to you, what are the characteristics of a student who would like to go into the world of fashion? In other words, they love fashion, but the sewing machine might not be their forte. How would you define those characteristics?
Thank you very much. So the BCom fashion student at Glasgow is a student that's very much analytically minded. They're very curious about the world and they're interested in solving problems behind the scenes and in front of the scenes in strategic leadership positions in terms of the business of fashion, as you have said. So what does that mean? That means that all the outfits that you see being put together in life, everyday life, through fashion retailers, someone needs to make sure that those items end up where they need to be. And that is where you get merchandise planners and buyers. And at Lysol, that is what we produce. The person who is ideal for this qualification is a person who is, like I said, analytical, a person who is curious about solving problems, is responsible, can think about leadership and driving value for customers and for people who love fashion. And they work alongside buyers who make sure that the trends are definitely on point with what is happening in the world out there. So to be a BCom passionate, you need a real passion for fashion, obviously, but you also need to be interested in solving puzzles and figuring out how the nuts and bolts of the business actually works.
So if a student currently in grade 12 is positioning his or herself to venture into the BCom in fashion, what would you suggest in terms of academic subjects to focus on now to prepare themselves for later?
Because obviously languages is very important because you need to make sure that as a communicator, your language is articulated brilliantly. And then obviously also maths. So to qualify, get into the BCom, you need 75% for maths literacy and 55% for maths pure. This is a requirement that we do drive because we are still a BCom proper, so we need that entrance requirement. However, we do say that once you're in the program, there is academic support for students so they can really upskill and really define themselves and really work on their skills, because we do things like numeracy workshops and we have classes, and we make sure that students really develop those skills inside the program itself.
Okay. In the case that a student has not made the academic grades, excuse me, has not made the academic grades, but they would still like to do a BCom degree, what could they do? What could we offer them that could be another instrument or another bridging tool to get into those programs, if anything?
So here at LISEC we also have higher certificates, and we offer things like higher certificate in retail.
Really?
That is especially useful as a bridging course into a degree program, because we also have the BA in buying. So students can definitely progress through that route into a degree and thereby achieving what they need to achieve in the business realm specifically.
Right, now that's interesting, because we're speaking about the BCom, but you mentioned the word buying. What would be the significant difference between someone doing a buying degree and someone doing a BCom degree?
Thank you for asking that. Yes, we do have confusion sometimes around these two degrees. The BA buying is specialized in the buying field. So if you really are interested in becoming a buyer, and I'm talking here about a local and globalized buyer, because our qualifications really do transfer across international bounds. If you're interested in being a buyer, you would do the BA in buying, where you learn things like mathematics, and you learn essentials of the buying course. So obviously you'll learn about trends, trend analysis, fashion practice. If you're going into the BCom, and it really is a unique BCom in that it specializes also in fashion, but it's much more broader. So you'll learn about things like supply chain management and logistics, law, financial management and planning, business studies and management. So it's a much broader qualification that not only allows you to specialize to becoming a merchandise planner, which is slightly different to a buyer, but it also opens up your opportunities to other commercial roles in the fashion retail space.
All right. So allow me to ask you this question then, because that leads on to my next question. What is the life of a planner? What is the 9 to 5 life of a planner?
So a planner never works alone. A planner will work in unison with a buyer. The buyer will obviously cast the forecast and gauge the trends, and their job is to, under budget, acquire the looks for next season. What the planner does is the planner takes notes of what merchandise is available in the warehouse and where that merchandise needs to be at any point in time at specific stores. Because as you know, we live in the age of quick response. So that means, together with software programs, they have to analyze the movements of merchandise and make sure that merchandise is replenished almost immediately to suit the customers and to suit the managers of those stores. So that's why a merchandise planner has to be able not only to work with analytics and be able to read and interpret analytics, but they have to work with people, so they have to have leadership and interpersonal communication skills, and they have to be able to forecast, and they themselves need to have an idea about fashion retail and the movements of fashion. They'll be dealing with merchandise. They are merchandise planners. They'll be dealing with merchandisers, visual merchandisers, store managers, and even at strategic level with CEOs in the C-suite. So for this reason, they really need to develop all those skills. So that is the day of a merchandise planner.
Right, and that to me already, the word that's coming into my head is responsible. They're obviously very, very responsible. Now with high responsibility comes a good paycheck.
Correct.
What are we looking at? If I'm asked by a student, how much will I earn per annum or per month? How would I address that?
The junior buyer starts off at about 220 and goes all the way up to 280.
As much as that.
Whereas we've seen that merchandise planners starting out is actually a higher pay grade due to the level of analytical work that is involved. So it starts at about 280, and we've seen it go as high as 360. And that's with the person who has 4 to 5 year experience. So obviously anything above that, you just keep on building your repertoire, and you become a specialist in the industry. And we know, even looking at the industry now, that merchandise planners are in high demand because they have to work with analytics and not all qualifications are producing this, but LISOP is producing merchandise planners through our BCom.
Beautiful. Now, in terms of what about overseas prospects? We know a lot of students would like to go overseas directly after they've completed their degree, or conversely, they'd like to first pick up experience and then go overseas. Is that opportunity available to them? Is it possible to do that?
In terms of our local syllabus, our syllabus is driven by international standard best practice. So we obviously work with text and syllabus that is matched to the best practices around the world. Then we also work with local retailers, and they also naturally follow best practice. The qualification itself and LISOP is due to be accredited through the British Accreditation Council. When that comes through, that means that our qualifications will also be accredited internationally. Correct, yes. So that means that our students with our qualifications are highly mobile and they're globally mobile, and they can move between industries and also geographic locations.
Stefan, this sounds terribly exciting. I've got to be honest with you. It sounds to me, as everybody has always said, that the BCom seems to have this creme de la creme, VIP, attached to it. Would you agree with that?
It is a BCom. It's what you would expect from a BCom in any other qualification, any other institution. So obviously we have to hit those beats. We still have to have the ingredients: business studies, financial management, law, economics, supply chain management, obviously with a specialization in fashion. So what sets the BCom in fashion apart, not only that it's one of a kind, but also because we have what we call our experiential learning built into the BCom. So that means for students, for their experience, they will have to be placed in fashion retailers, and they will actually apply their skills in those fashion retail environments that they've acquired. So it is a BCom, but it is a BCom for someone who's really interested in the fashion environment. That being said, because it's a BCom, it also opens our students to a wider range of opportunities. So we've also seen that students, even though they've qualified for merchandise planning in the fashion retail, you can apply those principles and those skills in all retail spaces because the principles remain the same.
Really?
And that makes them attractive to further industries, not just the fashion retail.
So it's not just the fashion industry. So if a student finishes at LISOP with their major in fashion, they can, at a later stage, move over to a organization, institution that does not specialize in fashion.
Correct.
Is that right?
So obviously students will have their passion aligned with fashion and fashion retail, but the principles that we teach are aligned with retail practice and best retail practice.
Wow, that sounds exciting. Stefan, we had a lot of discussion about the BCom. Something I want to just discuss with you is the BA buying. Let's shed some light on that in terms of requirements, qualifications. What does a BA buyer do? What is the day in life of a buying expert? If you could just shed some notes on that.
Okay, no problem. So at LISOP we decided that we spotted a gap in the market for fashion buying specifically, in that we don't see the combination of the analytical and planning skills required for a buyer who also has to be very trend focused and very knowledgeable on fashion practice. So the best way I can say this to you is the buyer is the most glamorous role. This is the qualification in fashion retail.
Oh, really?
That is the role where the student, this is probably what the student has in mind when they think about fashion, but from a commercial sense.
Right.
It's them identifying the look, either on runways or on Instagram or social media, identifying the look, making a case that that look will become widespread and it will become popular with buyers in the economy.
Right.
So what do they have to make a case for that look? They have to negotiate with suppliers to actually get the clothes and actually buy those clothes under budget, and then they get that look inside the company. And from there, the merchandise planner takes over and makes sure that there's enough merchandise at each store. While the buyer is important, because the buyer has to have not just the creative skills and the eye for fashion. They are trend analysts. They really are trend analysts, but they also have to think financially, because there are financial limitations. They also have to forecast, because they have to say to the CEO, the executive, you will sell X amount of these items. It's going to be huge. This is the look for end of 2020, post-COVID, what have you. They are the glamour. And so their day-to-day activities consist out of phoning suppliers, organizing buys, making sure that it moves through the value chain, through the supply chain, it arrives locally, through that maybe has more to do with the warehouse manager, but in terms of the buying and dealing with the suppliers, that is what a buyer does. So this means traveling, this means going to the places, actually looking at what's trending and what's happening, being involved in fashion, being knowledgeable. That's where the sexiness and the glamour comes in of being a fashion buyer, is you are acting as a buyer on behalf of the customer. So you can make those choices. And then because you do this, you also have the opportunity to, like I said, negotiate with suppliers, so meet suppliers. And then your job is to just make sure that you're working with the merchandise planner in monitoring these trends and seeing how the sales work. For that reason, we have the BA in buying, which teaches you all the skills of being a trend analyst, but also the skills of business studies and management. And mathematics, obviously.
So what you're saying, this is a person looking for a very eccentric lifestyle. Because they get invited to fashion shows, expos, one day in Milan, one day in Paris, whatever the case may be, wherever the company is taking them. You said the word fashion forecasting. Would that mean a buyer is someone like a stockbroker who has to think very speculative into the future, as opposed, because we're not buying for today, are we?
Absolutely.
What's on the racks now needs to get off. We're buying for the future.
Correct.
Would that be the right analysis?
So that has changed recently with fast fashion and quick response supply chain, where for the future it would have been the next season, which would only be maybe in spring or what have you. But now we're talking about continuous buying and continuous replenishment. So that means that the cycles move a lot quicker. You literally have a few weeks to go from getting the look to getting the look in the store. So you are definitely forecasting and speculating. And remember, if you get the forecast wrong, all those items that you would have ordered that you thought would be sold at premium price, they have to be discounted. And that means a loss for the company. So based on that, that's also why this position requires someone who is responsible and who can take a lead on actually being accountable for really forecasting trends. Because if you get the trend analysis wrong, that means that the company will basically lose out on that potential profits.
And having said that, I suppose when the goods arrive too early, they're going to end up in a warehouse, and a warehouse costs money. If the goods arrive too late, you're going to miss the trend, and the competition will take over. So there's obviously, a strong element of responsibility, and also in terms of these students going overseas. Does that possibility also exist, or is that if you're a buyer, do you have to buy in South Africa? Could you go to New York and do buying in New York?
Because our qualification is actually distinguished and based on best practice globally, you know that your skills will be able to transfer to other regions.
Right. Okay. That's exciting. It's very, very exciting when I get into the business world of fashion, and as you discussed with us, buying, BCom. It sounds so exciting, doesn't it? And it's really different from that of always the design and the media aspect. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Stefan. It's been wonderful chatting to you. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed that. I hope you've learned as much as I have learned. And let's see, study hard, all right? Study real hard, and let's see you on board next year. Excellent. Cheers, guys.
Okay, guys. I wanted to just quickly recap on the business side of fashion. So Lysof, who is proudly part of Stadio, we are the leaders in fashion education. We were the first to introduce the BA degree in fashion. We were the first to introduce the BCom in fashion, and the first to introduce the BA honours degree in fashion. And remember, we are the first really to allow you to actually specialize in specific career paths. So Stephen, now maybe you want to tell us about the requirements?
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. So, folks, for those of you who might have missed the interview that I had with Stefan de la Pria, we discussed essentially 3 disciplines. The first one being the BCom, the second one being the BA Buying, and the third one, the High Certificate in Retail. So let's quickly have a look at what is required for a student to get admission into the BCom. So basically, first and foremost is maths. You would need to have maths either on core or lit. It doesn't really matter. What is important for the BCom degree is that you have a maths mark of at least 50% for pure maths and 70% for maths lit. Now for the BA Buying, it is slightly different. It's going to be 55% on maths core. Hi guys. So I just want to take a moment just to recap with you the 3 qualifications that we discussed today. The first one being the BCom, the second one being the BA Buying, and the third one being the High Certificate in Retail Management. Now, for those folks who would like to get admission into the BCom, you would need at least the following. You would need a minimum maths mark of at least 55% on pure maths and 75% on maths lit. For those folks who want to get into the BA Buying, you would need a minimum maths mark of at least 50% on maths pure and 75 on maths lit. Now, for those folks who find that you haven't qualified for neither of those, there's still good news. You can get into our Higher Certificate program, which is a wonderful program because it allows a few things. The first one, if you were to successfully complete the Higher Certificate in Fashion, Retail, it does allow you the opportunity to later move into the BA Buying program. To get into Higher Certificate, you would need to simply pass your matric with an English mark of 40% or higher. What is also very nice with the Higher Certificate, it's a 1-year program and it is obviously very attractive in terms of cost. So that's why it is very beloved. So those are the 3 programs. It's the BCom, it's the BA Buying, and the High Certificate in Retail Management.
Should we maybe mention to them just about the general, you don't need any specific subjects. That's what's amazing. You know, that's always what students ask. You don't need art and design, you don't need business
Correct.
studies. In fact, we just want to see at the end of the day that you're creative and that you have potential. Steve, maybe you want to touch on the careers, just to recap?
Let's talk about it. I think that's very important. It's one thing to study, but it's another thing to why am I doing what am I doing? What's going to be the end result of my studies? So folks, I'll try to go through this real slowly. So when we look at either the BCom or the BA Buying, let's look at some of the career paths that you can follow. I'll give them to you very slowly. The first one, you can go into retail operations manager. Is one path you could follow. You could become a fashion buyer. You could become a fashion merchandiser. You could become a fashion planner. You could become a brand developer, or a strategist, or go into trend forecasting. So as you can see, there's quite a number of different paths that you can follow, which makes it very, very exciting.
Amazing, amazing. Guys, to apply, it's as easy as literally going to our website, www.lysoft.co.za, go to Apply Now button, and there's your application form. Just complete it, and at a click of a button, you have applied at Lysoft. And all you literally need to do is we need to send it to academics, and we'll let you know within a few days if you've actually been accepted into Lysoft. Okay, let me take you through to the canteen. So now normally this is buzzing with students, and I mean the canteen is always the best place to actually meet people. And you know, at Lysoft you always meet like-minded people. You know, you meet creatives and you're connecting and you're exchanging ideas and you inspire each other, and a lot of it happens here. I mean, yes, they come and have lunch and they get to chat, but they sit and actually do work here. So yeah, come, let's go inside. You can have a look at the menu. Auntie, Now we're going to take you up a secret stairway. We're going to go up to the roof, actually. Look at this view, guys. I mean, unbelievable. You can see Sandton over there, Sandton City over there. Look at that. You could actually do a whole 360 view of this. And the amazing thing is, with up at the rooftop, we often have, last year we had Pilates once a month. We had lots of different activities. We even had Design in Daba here at the campus, and on the rooftop people could come and sit and socialize and be entertained. Unbelievable, you know, in the middle of Randburg, but look at this view. And that's about it. What did you think of that, guys? Admit Joburg is amazing. So thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate you, spending time with us to actually get to see what it's all about in Joburg. So I want to just let you know, remember to head to Instagram, because tonight at 6 o'clock there will be Leo from Lysoff who'll be interviewing Kevin Smith, who's the merchandise director of Mr. Price. That'll be a very interesting interview. And remember, guys, to apply you need to head onto our website www.lysoff.co.za and apply online. Nice seeing you guys, and have a beautiful evening.